Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something I know hits home for many of you, aiming for that C1 level in English. It's that really frustrating feeling, hitting a wall, feeling, lazy, even when you've got these big goals, like wanting effortless conversations or giving great presentations, unlocking those doors. It's a serious ambition, right? So when motivation just vanishes, it can feel pretty awful.
It really can. And that feeling, wanting to move forward but just not finding the energy, it's incredibly common. But what's really fascinating when you dig into it is that this laziness, it isn't usually just a lack of willpower.
Right.
It's often a sign, really, of more complex things going on underneath.
Exactly. So less of personal failing, more like trying to navigate this really tricky maze of challenges. I mean, think about just the sheer size of learning a language.
Yeah.
It can feel impossible sometimes.
Totally overwhelming.
Yeah. And then there's that fear, isn't there, of making mistakes, wanting to be perfect right away, which actually just stops you from trying. Plus, those big rewards like fluency, they feel so far off. So we've looked at some really helpful stuff on this, and our aim today is basically to cut through all that noise. We want to give you the core insights, the practical strategies you need, not just to push through the slumps, but to really build up your mental defenses, for the long haul towards your English goals.
Absolutely. So the mission today is to arm you with techniques you can actually use and maybe a new perspective on your own motivation. We want to help you build that strong internal foundation, the kind that supports consistent effort and gets you to that C1 level you're after. So let's dig into what's really behind this feeling of laziness. Ready?
Okay, let's do it. Because, like you said, a key thing that kept popping up in the sources was that this feeling, not wanting to study.
Yeah.
It isn't usually about genuinely wanting to do nothing. It's more like a signal that something else needs looking at.
Precisely. And our sources consistently point to about 7 main interconnected reasons why this happens. The first one is just feeling overwhelmed and lacking clarity.
Makes sense.
Think about it: vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, culture. It's huge. If you don't have a clear path, like a map, it's so easy to feel lost and just stall before you even start properly. It's like being given a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, but they forgot to give you the picture on the box.
That's a perfect analogy. Staring at this giant English mountain range and having no idea which path to even try first. And that leads straight into the second point, doesn't it? Perfectionism and the fear of failure.
Oh, yes. A big one for language learners.
That pressure to speak perfectly from day one. It can just freeze you up. That little voice saying, what if I sound silly? What if I mess up? And sometimes, like one source mentioned, it just feels safer not to try because then you can't technically fail, right?
Exactly, that defense mechanism. Which brings us neatly to number 3, the lack of immediate rewards. Learning a language takes time, a long time. Those big payoffs, fluent chats, better jobs, they're usually way down the road. But our brains, they're kind of wired for instant gratification. So choosing to drill grammar instead of, say, watching a fun video, even if the grammar is more useful long term, that's a tough sell for our attention right now.
Totally get that. Then number 4, decision fatigue. This one surprised me a bit.
It's subtle but real. All those tiny decisions you make about learning, which book, which app, focus on listening today, or reading, or should I review vocab? They seem small, but they actually use up mental energy.
Oh, okay.
So by the time you finally sit down to actually do the studying, you might already be running on empty mentally, making it way easier to just say, nah, not today.
Wow, okay. And number 5 connects to that. Energy depletion and burnout.
Yeah, just life. Work stress, family stuff, errands, worries. It all takes a toll on our energy, mental and physical.
Sure does.
So when you're already feeling drained, the idea of adding a demanding English study session, it can feel like the last straw. It's often the first thing to get dropped when you're overloaded.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, number 6 gets really interesting. Misalignment with true motivation.
This is critical. Are you learning English because something deep inside you genuinely drives you towards it? A real personal goal?
Or is it more like an external pressure, something you feel you should do?
Exactly. If that core why isn't really yours or isn't strong enough, it's no wonder your commitment starts to wobble when things get tough.
That's a really important distinction. And finally, number 7, the not enough time myth.
Or perception, maybe? We're all busy, that's true. But the sources suggest this often isn't about literally having 0 minutes free. It's more about what we prioritize. We tend to make time for things we truly value, or things we enjoy, or things that feel urgent.
So if English study keeps getting pushed aside for lack of time, maybe it's a sign we haven't truly prioritized it or connected it strongly enough to those core values. Okay, looking at all those factors together, it really changes the picture, doesn't it? It stops being about I'm lazy and starts being about, okay, I'm facing these specific challenges, overwhelm, fear, energy dips, maybe my why isn't clear enough.
Precisely. And that's empowering because these are things you can address. They're not fixed personality traits.
Which brings us to the really practical part. How do we actually build and keep that focus? Our sources were packed with actionable strategies for staying on that path to C1.
Yes, and it's not about suddenly becoming a productivity machine overnight. It's about smart systems and mindset shifts, ways to make consistent effort feel, well, less effortful, more sustainable. And the very first strategy everyone seems to agree on is define your why with unshakable clarity.
Your North Star, basically. Why really do you want this C1 level? And the key is digging deeper than the vague answers. Get specific. So not just for a better job, maybe it's to lead client presentations confidently in English for my multinational company, positioning myself for that senior role I want.
Exactly. Or not just to travel. How about to navigate local markets in rural Ireland independently, chat meaningfully with people, and really understand their culture on my trip next year?
Much more powerful.
Absolutely. The more vivid and personal your why, the more magnetic its pull. Really visualize achieving it, feel that success. That helps keep the fire lit. And some research backs this up. Physically writing it down, putting it somewhere visible, that constant reminder really works.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Okay, strategy number 2 tackles that overwhelm. Break down the Everest, the power of micro goals. C1 feels like climbing Everest, right?
Yeah.
Huge and but your daily, weekly tasks, those are the base camps, essential steps to get you there.
Think SMART goals.
Yeah.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. So instead of learn more vocabulary, which is way too vague.
Right. Try something like learn 20 new C1 level phrasal verbs related to business negotiations this week using my flashcard app for 15 minutes each day.
Yeah.
See? Concrete. Trackable.
Much better. And it's also about focusing on the process, not just the distant outcome. So instead of stressing about being fluent in 6 months, which depends on so many things, concentrate on dedicate 30 focused minutes to reading an English news article each weekday. Nail the process, and the outcome takes care of itself eventually.
Oh, and I love this little practical hack from the sources, the 2-minute rule.
Ah, yes. Simple but effective.
If an English task takes less than 2 minutes, quick flashcard review, messaging your language partner, just do it right then. Stops those little things piling up and builds momentum.
It really does. Okay, strategy 3. Craft a realistic and sustainable routine. Your study plan has to fit your life, not some fantasy schedule you ditch the first time things get hectic.
This feels crucial. Things like time blocking, actually scheduling specific English slots in your calendar, like real appointments.
Treat them seriously. And habit stacking is another great one. Link your new English habit to something you already do automatically, like after I brush my teeth in the morning, I'll do one Duolingo lesson, or while the kettle boils for my tea, I'll review 10 flashcards.
Using existing triggers. Smart.
Yeah. And also energy management. Notice when you have the most brain power during the day. Do the hard stuff then, grammar, writing practice. Save listening or easier reading for when you're a bit more tired.
Match the task to your energy. Makes sense.
Also, start small. Don't try to add 2 hours a day immediately. Build up gradually and have a plan B for bad days, your minimum effective dose. The absolute smallest thing you'll do just to keep the chain going, even 5 minutes counts.
Love that. Okay, strategy 4 uses a classic focus booster, the Pomodoro technique.
Ah, the tomato timer. It works surprisingly well for language learning too.
Yeah, those 25-minute focus sprints on one task, no distractions. Then a short 5-minute break. After 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break, 15-30 minutes.
It breaks down daunting tasks, makes study time feel less endless, and really helps maintain concentration.
Definitely. And building on that focus idea, number 5 is create an environment primed for focus. Your actual surroundings matter, right?
They really do. If you can, have a dedicated study spot. Your brain starts to associate that place with learning. Keep it tidy, minimize clutter. And the big one, digital distractions.
Oh, yeah. Phones.
Turn off notifications. Use website blockers if you need to. Maybe even put your phone in another room while you study. Interestingly, some sources mention that using physical books or notebooks can actually help some people focus better than screens, less temptation to click away.
Worth trying. Okay, strategy 6 is about making it fun. Gamify your learning and track progress.
Yeah, leverage those game mechanics. Apps like Duolingo, Memrise, Quizlet do this well with points, levels, streaks. You can also create your own reward system. Hit a weekly goal. Treat yourself. The sources suggest non-food rewards work well. Maybe a new book in English, a movie night, a relaxing bath, something you genuinely enjoy.
Nice. And tracking progress.
Seeing how far you've come is hugely motivating. Use app trackers or even just a physical chart you tick off. That visual proof of progress really helps.
I can see that. Number 7 brings in other people. The power of accountability and social connection.
It's harder to skip out if someone's counting on you. Like, find a study buddy, get a language exchange partner. That mutual commitment helps.
Or join a class.
Yep, classes or groups add structure and community. Even just telling a supportive friend or family member your goals can make you feel more accountable. And of course, a tutor provides personalized feedback and that built-in accountability.
Good options there. Strategy 8 is vital for the long game. Embrace imperfection and learn from setbacks. Because, let's face it, you will miss study days sometimes.
Yeah.
And you will make mistakes.
Absolutely essential mindset shift. There's the never miss twice rule. If you miss one day, make it a priority to get back on track the very next day. Don't let one slip become a slide.
Good rule.
And see mistakes not as failures, but as data. Learning opportunities. Remember, C1 fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about communicating effectively, even with occasional errors.
Right. It's about connection, not perfection.
Exactly. And practice self-compassion. If you miss a session, don't beat yourself up. Figure out why it happened, adjust if needed, and just gently get back to it.
Okay, number 9 gets into some powerful learning science. Active recall and spaced repetition. Sounds technical, but these are apparently super effective.
They really are. Active recall is basically testing yourself. Instead of just rereading notes, close the book and try to summarize. Explain a grammar rule out loud in your own words. Use flashcards where you have to produce the answer, not just recognize it.
Pulling it out of your brain, not just putting it in.
Exactly. It makes the memory much stronger. And spaced repetition builds on that. You review information at increasing intervals just as you're about to forget it. This forces your brain to work harder to retrieve it, locking it into long-term memory more effectively. Apps like Anki are brilliant for automating this.
Cool. And finally, strategy 10, which seems obvious but maybe isn't always followed. Keep it interesting and relevant to you.
Because if it feels like a total drag, that laziness monster is definitely going to reappear.
Right. So tie it to your hobbies. Love cooking. Watch cooking shows in English. History buff. English history podcasts.
Mix up your activities too. Don't just do grammar drills every single day. Variety keeps it fresh. And once you have a decent foundation, dive into authentic materials you genuinely find interesting. News sites on topics you follow, books you actually want to read, movies, podcasts. That makes it feel less like study, more like just engaging with the world in English.
Absolutely. Now, to bring all this to life, the sources shared some really insightful, anonymized stories. Real people, real struggles. Let's start with Priya from India. She's a software dev, needed better business English for a promotion.
Right. Priya felt swamped by all the C1 business jargon, and after long work days, zero motivation left. Her breakthrough, scheduling a non-negotiable 30 minutes first thing in the morning, peak energy time. She used Pomodoro, tackled tiny bits of business English each day, and crucially, she found an online community for support. Took time, consistent effort, but she got the fluency she needed for that promotion.
Priya's story really shows. Find your best time, break big goals down, and don't underestimate community support. Okay, next. Matteo from Argentina. Dreamt of backpacking Europe, knew English was key.
Matteo admitted he was a classic procrastinator. Started strong, then fizzled out. What worked for him? Directly linking English to his travel passion. He started planning his dream trip only using English websites, travel forums. Suddenly, learning vocab had an immediate, exciting point.
Connecting it directly to the why.
Exactly. He also found a language partner who was planning a trip to South America, so they kept each other accountable. Win-win.
Mateo's story. Nail down that powerful personal why and find someone to share the journey with. Great lessons. Third story. Aisha from Nigeria. A student aiming for a scholarship, but really held back by perfectionism, fear of speaking.
Yes, Aisha was terrified of making mistakes, worried what people thought. Her tutor helped her shift focus. Fluency is effective communication, not zero errors. So she started recording herself speaking just 2 minutes a day, any topic, no stopping to correct.
Brave.
It was uncomfortable at first, she said, but listening back helped her accept her imperfections and actually see her progress. She also found watching English comedy shows made it fun, less pressure.
Aisha's lessons. Embrace imperfection. Consistent, even short practice builds confidence, and find ways to make it enjoyable. And finally, Kenji from Japan. A big gamer, found traditional classes boring, struggled to focus.
Kenji wanted to connect with international gamers online, so he turned his hobby into his classroom. Switched game interfaces to English, watched English-speaking streamers, actively tried using English in game chats.
Learning by doing, basically.
Totally.
Yeah.
His motivation connecting with teammates was intrinsic and strong. It was challenging, but fun. He also used vocabulary apps specifically for gaming terms to supplement it.
Kenji's takeaway: align learning with your passions. If you can make it feel less like study, focus comes much easier. These stories really drive it home, don't they? Overcoming that laziness isn't magic. It's about finding what works for you, your motivation, your structures, your learning style.
Absolutely. And reaching C1, well, that's amazing, but it's not the finish line. We also need to think about the long game, maintaining focus for lasting fluency.
Right. The source is stress, keeping English active in your life. Professionally, personally, reading the news, watching films, maybe even just thinking in English sometimes.
And setting new goals after C1 helps maintain momentum. Maybe master a specific accent, dive into literature, mentor another learner.
Keep that sense of purpose alive.
And adopt that lifelong learning mindset. Language changes, there's always more to discover. Ultimately, finding ongoing joy in using English in your life is the key to making that fluency stick and even grow long term.
So wrapping up this deep dive, the big message really is that feeling of laziness. It's not a character flaw. Think of it as a signal, a prompt to maybe adjust your approach, clarify your why, or tweak your goals. You absolutely do have the ability to focus, to be disciplined when the conditions are right. And the good news is, as we've talked about, you have the power to help create those conditions.
By understanding those mental traps, by using these practical strategies, by building habits that actually fit your life and getting inspiration from others, you really can build that strong internal fortress to support your English journey for the long haul.
It won't always be easy. Getting to C1 is a challenge. But with these tools, these mindset shifts, that vision you have for your English, it's definitely achievable. So here's a final thought for you to take away. Which one strategy we discussed today really clicked for you? Felt like something you could start right now. Commit to that one thing. Make it the first block in building your fluency fortress. And spend a little time really thinking about your core why. How can you keep that motivation burning bright, not just for now, but for the long journey ahead? Thanks for diving deep with us today.